congratulations on the success of Landmines, officially top 5 on alt radio. I'm
Yeah.
curious, I always like getting in the mind of the creator, the band, when making these songs, do you know, like, "Oh, this is for sure the hit, this is it," when does that finally, click? Is it the writing process? Is it when you finally hear it?
I think, you never know what's gonna be a hit because a lot of that stuff that's decided by, the people, right? Like,
Mhm,
if people
mhm.
like it or if people play it, all the other stuff, the X factor stuff. I think when you have a song that you think has potential, you know pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Um, and that song right away, I felt it was kind of a special song because I actually didn't write that song for myself. I was gonna give that away. And when it was finished, I realized I actually kind of like this song. There's something about it. So I'm going to hold on to it.
Mhm.
You never know if it's going to go and actually get played on radio or not.
Mhm, but that's when you're like, I guess through the process you go, "You know what? This is a me. This is a Sum41 song. This is a I can't give this away," essentially.
Yeah, I'm pretty bad at giving stuff away. I always think I'm going to, and people ask me, "Hey, would you want to write a song and do that?" And so, I'll attempt writing songs, and I end up keeping them all the time.
Well, which is fair. I mean, songwriting's pretty personal, and so I feel
Mhm.
like, in that process, if you are putting your personality, your thoughts down on paper, giving them away to somebody else or not using them yourself might feel some kind of way.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just weird. Once, like again, it sounds good on paper at the beginning before you have the song written, and then when you like the song, you just think, "Well, I
Yeah.
can't part with this."
Yeah, yeah, I gotta keep it. I wanna see this through. I totally get it, and obviously, you guys have, a double album coming out,
Mhm.
which will be the final, rendition, I guess, is the wording for Sum41 after I think it's been 27 years now?
As of right now, yeah, by the end, I think it'll be, 29, 30 years.
29, 30.
But yeah, it just feels like it's kind of time. And I feel like the record, Heaven and Hell, was the best way to go out. When I listened to it all back, and as a body of work, I felt strongly enough to say, I can call it on this one. I think
And
this represents the band perfectly, the sound that we've sort of created over the years. It kind of encapsulates everything. And I feel like the music and the songs are strong. I really stand behind them.
Well, and that's kinda what I wanted to touch on a little bit was the growth of the band, the evolution of the band throughout the years. Like, you guys, you as a band or a band in general doesn't continue to be a thing unless there is evolution and changes
Yeah.
and new things. And what are some of those things that you would attribute to the longevity, the success of Sum41?
I think, it's hard for me because we just do what we do and I don't really think a lot about it. But if I look back at it, I do know that we never really cared to try to fit in.
Sure.
If we fit in, it's because we were doing something that we liked and other people did as well. But when trends or styles or, fads change, we didn't try to just jump on that new
Sure.
thing and try to fit in with that. We always just stayed doing what we want to do. And sometimes that worked commercially and sometimes it didn't. But for
Mhm.
us personally, it always worked.
Yeah. It was the sound of the band. It was always you guys, it was always genuine. It wasn't, I don't know, changing with the
Yeah.
times or the popular sound at that moment.
Yeah, exactly. Like music changes and trends
Mhm.
change, and that's normal. And we just stayed doing what we loved,
Yeah.
regardless if it was financially viable or commercially
Yeah.
successful. We just did what we did, and we rode those waves. We went up and down.
Mhm.
And we just stayed true to who we are. And at the same time, like if you look at it right now with this kind of music, this sort of pop punk or these kinds of bands, there is a trend of it coming back, and we're saying, "Hey, this is time for us to leave." Actually,
Yeah, yeah,
so
even
we
though
don't follow trends.
yeah, because this would be a time, I guess if you're looking at it from a business, this will go, "Hey, like, this
Oh
is coming
yeah,
back. Let's roll again."
sure. There's like going to be a few years of like, this is working for a lot of bands, and
Sure.
this is the time where we say, "Yeah, well, we've been doing it long enough. We're out."
Was there a moment I've listened to other interviews where you kinda said, Sum41 was all of your attention, you're ready
Mhm.
to, let it be. What was there a specific moment where that finally clicked? Like, obviously the thoughts had maybe been there, but then there's one
Yeah.
moment where you're like, no, this is definitely time, and I'm ready to move on to whatever the next chapter is.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, there were a lot of thoughts for a few years of wondering what else is out there. Would I ever think of doing something different or calling this quits? And I sort of buried those thoughts for a long time.
Sure.
Then it gets to a point where it all just kind of hits me. And I think that moment was once this record, Heaven and Hell, was finished. And like I said, I felt like it really encapsulated what Sum 41 has always been about. And when I sat back and listened to the finished record, I felt this is the one to go out on. This is
Mhm.
time.
Makes sense. That makes sense. And if you don't mind me asking, do you have plans in motion already you're thinking of after Sum 41? I know it's a lot. There's still a whole tour and everything,
Yeah.
but is there an idea of what uh Deryck after Sum 41 is doing?
Not really, not yet. I'm the kind of person that I thrive only when everything's kind of on the line and
Sure.
I'm faced with pressure.
Sure.
Which is part of the reason why I felt like I needed to do something different because the band becomes somewhat predictable in a way of the cycle and
Sure.
it's an album, it's a tour, it's an album, and it's a tour, and things seem to work out well. And it's like, the shows are always great and they always seem to get bigger, but there is a level of predictability to it. And
Sure.
I felt creatively, I don't get as excited when things are like that. So for me, I kind of have to just get rid of it all, be faced with the thought of what the hell do I do now?
Mhm.
And I'm not quite there yet.
Yeah, I get that.
I need that fire and urgency to figure out what excites me and what is going to give me passion again.
Well, and in theory, you haven't had that what's next feeling in a while, obviously,
In a
because
while,
there
yeah.
has been Sum 41 as the band and everything, you were able to put your attention into, like you were saying.
Yeah, yeah, and I just feel like, I do better when I have to fight for something,
Mhm.
um, and I just feel like I'm sort of ready to try to figure out what that next thing is,
Ready
even
to
though I don't
feel
know what it is.
Yeah, ready to feel the pressure again. I
Yeah.
totally get it. First, well, do want to talk because Sum 41. There's going to be multiple chances for us here in Jacksonville, at least, to see you guys. Where you guys are going to be at Rockville in May, and then the
Mhm. Yep.
tour comes back through at the end of September, if I have it right. Orlando and Miami. So multiple chances to see you guys. So even though it's final tour, at least from a Sum 41 fan in Jacksonville, they might be able to triple dip on seeing you guys live.
That's true, that's true.
Yeah. But I did want to say the is that a room you're in or is that a Zoom background? Because it looks sick.
Zoom background. No, it's the studio. This is basically where I spend most of my time if I'm not with my family or on the road.
Okay, and like the guitars in the background, like the whole vibe. It gave off Zoom background vibes at first, but it looks awesome. I just wanted to make sure I pointed that out.
Yeah, no,
S
this is reality for me.
Yeah, so listen, I'm jealous of that with all those guitars too, man. Jeez. I so let's wrap it up here with a little bit of talk about Heaven and Hell. You've already
Sure.
talked about it. Both sounds or both sides or both CDs, both they're gonna
Yeah,
sound very different.
different. Yeah, it's 10 songs aside. The Heaven side is like old school pop punk, Sum 41, and the Hell side is 10 songs of the heavier sort of what we call like some Metallica sound that we've
Sure.
created over the past 20 years. But they're 10 separate songs. It's not like we thought, oh, we have so many good songs, we need to put them all on the record.
Yeah.
They're two totally different albums.
And were they songs you guys went into it like we're gonna write songs for this side? Or were there any that you maybe had like stashed that didn't make
None of
previous
it,
cuts?
yes, and none of it was thought of as an album.
Okay.
Um, I don't think we really ever talked about making an album. I just was collecting songs. Like I said, when I first started writing, I thought I was writing for other people.
Sure.
And I wrote about 7 or 8 of those songs that I planned on giving away, and I kept all of them.
Hmm.
Those were the pop punk ones. And then I also had a couple songs that I had started for the last record that didn't get finished. And they were on the heavier side. And when I kind of kept going through the pandemic and just kept writing, and again, not thinking I was writing music for Sum 41 or a
Sure.
record, I was just writing because I had nothing to do. It's once I listened to them all back when they were kind of finished in demo form, I thought, wow, this kind of sounds like this could be actually a double album. I don't
Mhm.
know if that was a crazy idea or not. So I sent all the music to the rest of the band and I just said, here's the music I've been working on. Tell me what you think. I didn't tell them any ideas I had or anything. And one by one, each guy came back and said, what do you think about making a double album and using all of these songs? So that's when I realized, okay, the music's telling us all the same thing, that
Mhm.
this is, we actually have an album here and it's a double album. So it was all by accident.
Okay. Well, and obviously an accident that we're all very excited about because it means we get a double album from you guys, and excited to hear everything once it's all out. Again, excited to see you guys potentially multiple times for us here in Jacksonville through Rockville through the tour. I gotta ask, after Sum41, is there potential? I know you said writing songs usually means you keep them. Is there
Yeah.
potential that we might catch a little bit of Sum41 vibes in other music that you may potentially write for other artists?
I think all avenues are open, like I
Mhm.
have no idea, but yeah, I mean, I don't know if I can stop being
Being
creative or
creative.
stop writing. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I mean, even since we made the announcement, I've written a bunch of songs that
Mhm.
don't even sound anything like Sum 41. And maybe I may explore those. I have no idea. Maybe those will get given away. I don't know.
My last question for you, and then we'll let you go. I appreciate you spending some time with us. When it's all said and done, when you sit back and for I guess a terrible comparison, that Thanos moment, you sit back, you go, "I'm done. It's accomplished." What will be a moment or two that you look back at and you go, "Wow, I can't believe that actually happened."
I think there's a lot. I think the biggest thing for me is that we stuck through all the really hard and most difficult times and never broke up and are walking away from it by choice
Mhm.
and in a good place with the band at the biggest it's ever been and the band relationship at the best it's ever been.
Yeah.
That's kind of surprising and doesn't usually happen, but I, regardless of what other people think, I've always felt that we do things differently than most bands and we are our own kind of thing. And I think that's the thing I'm most proud about and look back at as like, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, and I think, like you alluded to, not a lot of bands can say that, or you see the messy breakup that a band can have or end on, and it not necessarily leaves a sour taste, but could be, uh,
We've almost been there a few times. I mean, we've had our ups and downs.
yeah,
We've been through relationship stuff where we can't even be in the same room together,
mhm,
or we're not on speaking terms. But we pushed through all that and we fought through it. We worked through all that stuff and we never broke up.
yeah,
So now is the time when we're all in such a great place that we feel like it's the time.
to end it. It's ended as a Sum41 family where everybody's on a good page and happy.
Yeah, definitely.
And satisfied. Well, Deryck Whibley, thank you so much for joining us. A little bit of your time. Cannot wait to see you live, like I was saying, when you guys come through Orlando and obviously for Rockville. Can't wait to hear the album out March 29th. And thank you so much again for taking some time to chat with us here in Jacksonville.
Cool. No, thank you. I appreciate it a lot.
Thanks. Talk to you later.
Cool. See you later.